Hello, hello, my friends. It is Hondo, and welcome back to the Knights of the Nerd Republic. You know what to do, and stay profitable.
The Nerd Academy podcast is released weekly at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, available on our website at www.thenerdacademypodcast.com and wherever you listen to podcasts. You can find the Nerd Academy podcast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. You can also help support the show by going to patreon.com/The Nerd Academy podcast, where every donation allows us to bring you more exciting content every week.
Hello there, and welcome back to the Knights of the Nerd Republic, the show where your favorite nerds talk all things about the galaxy far, far away. I am your host, Jarod, the Dark Jedi, Bachman Stubbs, and we have a hell of an episode for you guys this week. We were off last week. Scheduling was a bit of a nightmare on my part. I want to thank one of our guests for as well, because I don't think I did it adequately last week, for putting up with kind of a last minute invitation, because I've just been incredibly busy, and I thank her for her help with our stream we did last week, in lieu of a normal episode. But we have a fun episode to talk about, two great episodes of The Bad Batch that I'm excited to dive into, one of which involving the return of our favorite Jedi turned, or Night Sister turned Jedi, turned Dark Jedi, turned Diet Sith, turned Night Sister, turned Bounty Hunter, turned cool mercenary with a lightsaber, which is one of my favorite genders, Asajj Ventress. So we're going to be talking all about that and some news, but we are joined by some guests again, the aforementioned Brooke B. Dazzler, who again, one of the few people who have done actually, I think the two people we have in this episode are some of the only people who have done back-to-back guest spots, if I remember correctly. So we have Brooke here today, and we are also joined by friend of the show, Scotty.
Hey, besties.
Hello. Very excited. I promised both of you after the reveal of Ventress's return, you would both be receiving invitations once we finally got to that episode. And I'm curious to see if this is the only time we see Asajj, but we will be talking about that and more after a brief word from our lovely sponsors at Sunday's Bloody Mary. You guys know the drill. Sunday's Bloody Mary has the most badass Bloody Mary accoutrement in the galaxy, with their 3-time award-winning spicy Caesar mix, as well as their mild and traditional mixes if the spice ain't for you. They have their also award-winning pickled dilly beans, okra, and asparagus if you want to get your freak on and garnish that bad boy, and some rim salt if you're freaky. As I've said more times than I can count, as a former bartender who can make a mean Bloody Mary from scratch, Sunday's Bloody Mary is my favorite Bloody Mary mix and is the only Bloody Mary mix I will use. Pull out some Zin Zang. I don't want to see that shit. I don't want to hear the word Zing Zang. It's repulsive. Get it out of here. If you guys want to mix up your Bloody Mary game, you can use the link in the description down below and use the code TNAP, TNAP, at checkout to get 10% off your order and help out your favorite nerds while you do it. So, real quick, before we jump into our stories for today and then our Bad Batch discussion, Scotty, thoughts on the Acolyte trailer? Because we talked about that last week with Brooke. So your brief thoughts on the Acolyte trailer before we jump into the show proper here.
The Acolyte trailer looks insane in the best way possible. I'm so stoked. I am never read the High Republic books, so I'm not a High Republic fan, but it's like making me want to like read like very late, try to catch up. Like that's how invested I am, and I know like nothing about it other than what I learned in Jedi Survivor, but I'm into it.
Well, you should. You'd love it. It's very gay and swashbuckly.
I was just about to say it's super gay.
But you would think I would have read it. I don't know what's wrong with me.
I was gonna say I feel mildly gaslit by hearing that you haven't, because I feel like I've just convinced myself that every single queer Star Wars fan has the entire bibliography on a shelf that is
Yeah.
itself
you mean
rainbow colored.
Shoot, I don't know if you can see my.
You
You mean this shelf?
Yeah, I gotta catch up. Yeah, I'm
No,
slacking.
it
I
is
know.
absolutely worth your time. It is absolutely worth your time. As we said last week, we're very, very excited. I have already gone full conspiracy brain about what's going on in that trailer, to nobody's surprise. But I cannot wait. But jumping in here to our first story. One, I think that there's an interesting relationship between the very concept of negativity and the impulse to critique, and it is something that I think that that fandom inherently, all fandom has an entitlement problem. So
True.
it's something that I try to work around. I don't want to feed into echo chambers about leading into negative stuff, but I must say, we're looking at a story that is, in my opinion, quite distressing and frustrating. Especially as somebody who kind of dropped $36 on a broken product. So we kind of alluded to it over the last couple weeks. Battlefront Classic Collection, Battlefront Classic Collection. I can't wait to play. I think last week. I don't remember if I had played it yet or not. The last episode, I should say. I don't remember when we had Nikki Kumar from Imperial Senate podcast. We were talking about how excited I was I was to play it, and I don't remember if I'd actually talked about playing it yet. And man, oh man, is this a clusterfuck? I'll throw to you guys first before I jump into the article. Have either of you played the Battlefront Classic Collection yet?
Nope. But
I have not.
But I'm not a FPS person. I was always horrible at it when I was a kid. So I was like, I said if they wouldn't get like a content creator kind of stream will get online and do it, then I'll buy it. But that's like the only reason I would. But after everything I've heard, it's probably not going to happen.
You mean like the way that the way that streamers and creators would want to squad up together and go play, and how that is a feature not added to Battlefront Classic Collection?
Yeah.
Yeah, man, I was really excited, and I was hearing a whole lot of hullabaloo about the online play, and I was like, okay, I might play online a little bit, but I'm cards on the table. I'm here to be able to play the campaign and Galactic Conquest on my PlayStation. I had said before, my little sister has basically inherited my Xbox One. And anytime I'm like overnight with my family, because I live like an hour away now, anytime I'm overnight, seeing them, everybody will go to bed, and then I'm holed up in like the game room of my family's house.
Vacation. I feel you.
I am up until the ass crack of dawn, either playing Battlefront, like 2005 Battlefront 2, or some other retro Star Wars game, be it Revenge of the Sith, or I got my sister the Star Wars Heritage Collection for Christmas, so I was like that, or I'm playing fucking Jedi Outcast, or like I'm just by myself playing an old Star Wars game that I cannot play, living with my girlfriend now on my PlayStation because it's not available on PS5, but Xbox Game Pass has all this cool shit. And I was like, this is where I was like, I'm willing to pay $35 just to have Galactic Conquest and Rise of the Empire to just nullify the need to play this game until 6 a.m. by myself in my family's home. Like I am 13 again.
Heal that inner child.
Yeah, truly. That inner child not healed. That inner child fucking angry. I'm not a game developer. I don't work in that industry. I don't even know people who do. And obviously we talked about this on the main show with regards to other games. We've talked about it on KNR, talking about this Lego Skywalker saga. Crunch culture is real. Crunch culture is toxic. It is exploitative. The people who work in the games industry who get to for the most part, fulfilled the dream of making video games professionally, especially on a grand scale. In the case of these bigger IP titles like Star Wars or Suicide Squad, etc., it's wonderful, to be able to do that. It's fantastic, and then we get this incredible art that we get to experience. All of that said, I do my best to not put the blame on game developers, and I don't know where along the road the wheels fell the fuck off of the Battlefront Classic Collection. I don't know on whom's shoulders this falls, but I'm not a game developer. I don't know how you take a finished game that is 20 years old and sell it for $35 fucking broken. I in my mind, I'm like, Spider-Man 2 launches and there's a few bugs, no pun intended. And, Jedi Survivor, I can't double jump dash on Kobo after I get off the Mantis without the frame rate crawling to 2. It's a new game. And, the simple reality is in the modern gaming era, if you're playing day one, you're an unpaid play tester. That's the reality. Because again, there's a massive pool of people who are touching this game, and they're going to learn. The people developing the game are going to learn in real time. Here are the things that we need to work on, because at scale, people are discovering bugs. I get that. I understand that, and I've made peace with that in many ways. When the game is older than people I fucking know. And it launches with these bizarre bugs where like Hoth looks irradiated.
Oh.
It was a day one bug where people were playing Hoth in like the XL mode. And there were these weird glowing blue and red patches in the snow where like textures were just bizarrely not rendering correctly. And the game crashing bugs that I'm just like, wow, like, okay, maybe the strain on multiplayer. Okay, again, we're all unpaid play testers at this point. Fine, I'll give that some latitude. Then you go to play single player. Now, again, one of the reasons why I wanted this game was for single player shit.
Yeah.
And I'm going in and I'm so excited for it. And Rise of the Empire, I think, is one of the most fascinating pieces of like Star Wars Legends storytelling, because it's one of the few pieces of Legends storytelling that is as interested in the worldview of the clone trooper as the modern canon is. And it takes incredible interest in watching the fall of the Republic and the rise of the Empire through the eyes of a clone trooper. And I think it's fascinating storytelling. I think it is the only viable argument against the inhibitor chip idea. I think
that's where this comes from. Okay,
I
don't even know what the campaign is, so I'm here.
So the campaign. So again, and this is how Legends it is.
Yeah,
is that like this is before the idea of the 501st just being the division of clone troopers Anakin Skywalker leads was a thing. Like at the time, it was just the 501st Legion is Republic Special Ops.
Oh, okay.
And they got deployed to Magneto. Magneto. Can you tell him hankering to watch X-Men 97? That they're deployed to Megiddo, and then they help make Megiddo a winnable battle for the Republic, and then they leave, and then they're deployed to Felucia, and then they kind of unfuck whatever's going on in Felucia, and then Kashyyyk and Utapau, and like at the very and like again like they're kind of there on Utapau, and then they kind of slowly sneak back to Coruscant to then be with Darth Vader as he marches on the Jedi Temple, and then once the Empire is a thing, they are now like the elite force that's helping establish the military dominance of the Empire, putting down an insurrection on Naboo, taking out another insurrection on Mustafar being led by like separatist holdouts. Get ready to mark down your bingo cards. It's putting down another insurrection on Kamino because the Kaminoan cloners were like, yeah, no, fuck this. and had secretly had this trump card up their sleeve that they had been breeding anti-Empire clones the whole time in the event they ever thought the Empire overstepped their bounds. And I know I was very much in the camp of the Bad Batch is going to end like the Camino campaign in Battlefront 2, or the Camino mission. It's very fascinating. I implore anybody to go back and watch the campaign. But on that topic, the main thing that was so enthralling about it, and Brooke, I'm getting the vibe that you've played it because you're kind of like nodding and yesing along that you're familiar.
I've watched. I haven't played it, but I've watched some playthroughs and stuff.
So you know what I'm about to say. The most fascinating thing about it that gives you that clone's perspective on everything is that the cutscenes at the beginning, it's like this text that comes on the screen. It says 501st Journal, and then like the name of the journal entry and the battle that it is revolving around. And it is this incredibly well-written narration and journal entry performed by Tamora Morrison.
Oh, love that.
That is very like, Coyote Mundi had no idea what we were actually on Megiddo for. And it's like, like we gotta steal this power converter type gadget from the separatists on Camino because it's gonna help shut down their production there. And then and then in like the end cutscene, it's like, oh yeah, this is actually to help develop Palpatine's super laser. That like stuff like that. And it is just so expertly performed by Tamora Morrison. And it's some of the best. It's one of his best performances. Like it is up there with him in Book of Boba Fett, where it's just this very stoic, but almost in a disturbing way, performance from him. And I'm just so excited to get in there. And
it don't work.
What if I told you that half of these iconic cutscenes are not in the game?
Oh, yeah.
Crazy.
That doesn't even make the campaign sound like going back for that nostalgia part of it. Like you're not even getting the nostalgia.
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah. It's surprisingly awful. And it is the end of the mission cutscene. So you'll get the, you'll get the pre-mission stuff, and that's fun. It's fine or whatever. And then you complete the mission, and then it just takes you to, here are your stats for the battle. Next planet.
Yikes.
No cutscene. And again, I try so hard not to just like scream at the game developers and sound like this entitled fucking nerd. But I'm like, how did this happen? Like, that's such a bizarre fuck up.
I mean, do you have a conspiracy theory? Because I kind of do.
Oh, I'd love to hear yours. I'd love to not have to put the tinfoil hat on for once. I will happily hand you the hat.
Honestly, part of me wonders if it only got put out because everybody kept complaining about Battlefront 2 getting canceled. So they were like, let's repackage this old game for nostalgia purposes and we'll make a little bit of money. And the nerds are going to eat this shit up because they're going to get what they wanted. But like the older version, that's kind of what I'm thinking. Like, and it's no hate to the developers behind it, but I feel like studio executives and stuff like that, those are the ones making these decisions to be like, let's just repackage this old thing. We'll put some new paint on it and they'll get it and play it and we'll make money. And then we don't have to listen to them complain about Battlefront 2 or Battlefront 3 not happening for 6 months. But I guess it didn't work.
No, and it's so bizarre. It feels like the Battlefront franchise is just fucking cursed at this point.
Yeah.
Like I don't know what I don't know like what I don't know what tomb somebody at Lucasfilm Games disturbed.
I feel like Star Wars games in general, like with the exception of the Jedi games, has just been, there's been fuckery afoot.
It's been a fucking nightmare. We talked about this on our last episode, like, just discussing like the landscape of Star Wars gaming right now. And we're how many canceled projects deep?
Oh my god. And we just got an update about Star Wars Hunters again. They're
Yeah.
like, it's coming soon. Thanks for your patience.
A game that again, talking about me and my conspiracy theories, a game that I'm slowly being convinced is a money laundering scheme. That I'm slowly being
It's
convinced.
crazy though, because I feel like they made and put out Jedi Survivor in the time that they fucking announced this isn't it a mobile game?
It's like mobile and Switch.
And I don't know. I don't know that much about it, but I know they can play it in Australia. And like they've been playing it there.
Someone get the Blue Bantha Milk guys on the horn and ask them if they actually can. And those aren't fucking sock puppet accounts. I do not believe the Star Wars Hunters exists at this point.
Yeah.
But yeah, how many projects canceled deep? Like the rash of layoffs at Respawn that resulted in like the week-long hype of the fucking Mandalorian FPS.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
We didn't even get a chance to cover it on KNR before it was now existing in the past tense of early development.
It was literally like one day it was like, oh, guess what? There's a Mandalorian FPS, and then the next day or like 2 days later it was like, and it's canceled.
And it's
Just kidding.
Yeah, like it is in many ways the Ben Solo of Star Wars games. Like it came into the world just long enough to know about it. And then it gave us a kiss goodbye and then faded away to join Project Ragtag and 1313 and The Force Unleashed 3 and fucking canceled Star Wars game Valhalla.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And again, it's a bad business practice. Aspire has been taking the lead on all of these Star Wars remasters. And I don't know if trust in them as a studio and a company is going to be there for their next project. This also comes on the heels of them being like, oh, remember how we said we were going to add all that KOTOR 2 DLC? Never mind. That like people fucking bought that thinking they were going to get this shit down the road. And speaking of the shitty business practices, this takes us to something that I thought was shocking. We briefly talked about it several episodes ago because I just heard about this story floating around in the ether. But now there's some really concrete reporting on it. This is from IGN, Wesley and Poole. Star Wars Battlefront modder finds further evidence that Classic Collection uses their mod despite Aspire promising it wouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
A veteran Star Wars Battlefront modder has dug further into the recently released Classic Collection and uncovered more evidence that the controversial release used their mod despite developer Aspire promising it wouldn't. Last month, IGN reported on concern from the Star Wars Battlefront community sparked by the Classic Collection's debut trailer, which suggested the game used a mod that brought a previously Xbox exclusive Battlefront 2 DLC to the PC. The original pandemic developed Battlefront 2 was launched in 2005, had a DLC pack that was exclusive to the original Xbox that added 2 new heroes, Kit Fisto and Asajj Ventress. We'll come back to her later. As well as 4 maps. Both Kit and Asajj had unique animations and moves no other characters had. In 2021, modder I Am a Shaman brought the DLC to PC, reskinning the 2 existing characters to look like Kit and Asajj Ventress, Coyote Mundi for Kit Fisto and Ayla Sakura for Asajj Ventress. For those of you who haven't played these games, for whatever reason, Ayla Sakura has 2 lightsabers in this game, so it was actually kind of easy.
I had no idea. That's hilarious.
In the mod, okay, so here's another little bit of table setting here. The DLC version of Asajj Ventress for the Xbox back in 2005, which I never got to use until playing it the Xbox Game Pass version on what is now my sister's Xbox, that has all of the downloadable content in there. So Renvar and Bespin maps, and Kit and Asajj are in there. Now Asajj in the DLC from 2005, she does not have like her iconic twin lightsabers. She has lightsaber nunchucks for some fucking reason, and throws like lightsaber ninja stars. Baffling decisions. And Kit Fisto has like he has a discernible difference in the way that he is swinging his lightsaber and moving and he has a unique force ability where he like kind of like in the Tartakovsky Clone Wars where he creates that like giant bubble and like launches it into that underwater tank. That's one of his abilities in the game. So just a little table setting there. In the mod, Asajj does not hold her unique link sabers in one hand, but instead wields 2 separate lightsabers, one in each hand, like Aayla Secura does in the original game. Similarly, Kit Fisto fights like Coyote-Mundi. At the time, Aspyr insisted the release of Star Wars Battlefront Classic Collection, quote, does not include any code or content that is taken from uncredited sources, unquote. Telling it IGN, it, quote, mistakenly, unquote, included, quote, content that is not in the product after capturing placeholder footage for the trailer last fall. Oof already. However, following Star Wars Battlefront Classic Collection's catastrophic release, which has resulted in an, quote, overwhelmingly negative, unquote, user review rating on Steam, I Am a Shaman said there was evidence to suggest the game did indeed launch with their mod, or at least portions of their mod. Before updates stripped them out in a revelation that has sparked criticisms of Aspyr, I Am a Shaman called it a terrible gut punch. And then within the IGN article, it shows like specific code that shows a specific bug that happened when I Am a Shaman made because he let Ventress just have the twin lightsabers for obvious it makes more sense reasons, but he developed code to make it so that Kit Fisto still made his like force bubble. But there's a specific bug in his force bubble that basically only he was aware of. So looking at the code, he sees it. He also sees that in the initial versions, Kit Fisto and Coyote-Mundi's like combat animations were basically identical as they would have been if you just reskinned Coyote-Mundi with Kit Fisto. As well as apparently Ventress being seen in the trailer with her twin lightsabers. And now Battlefront modders have dug into the Nintendo Switch version of the Classic Collection, which I Am a Shaman told IGN launched using further modified versions of my mods' heroes before being replaced again in a patch. Aspyr has yet to respond to IGN's request for comment. We actually managed to dump, archive, and data mine this information of the build and can confirm some files are the same as my original mod, specifically regarding the heroes' projectiles, I Am a Shaman said.
Wow.
Like, again, on top of, and I can't reiterate this enough, you broke a game that is almost legally allowed to drink in the United States.
Yeah.
Which is, in and of itself, mind-boggling and impressive. And then you use this modded content, which I don't think I would have a problem with if Aspyr said they didn't. Because, like it is a basic, it's terms and agreements and, intellectual property type stuff for like, if you mod something using the base code and everything that was designed by the proprietor of that game, they are entitled to kind of, thank you. So if they had just kind of been upfront and been like, yeah, we use this mod to bring it to life, and it credited those people, I think this is a very different conversation. But being here now, the launch is a disaster. They're yet to comment on or even imply that they're going to adjust all of the audio issues, the lack of the cutscenes. They kind of only talked about, oh, hey, we fixed multiplayer, kind of. And then for all of that to then be with the cherry on top being, we bold-faced lied about co-opting a mod.
I mean, part of me wonders if stuff like this happens when they use mods as like a cost-cutting measure. Like, and once again, I may be getting a little conspiracy theory again, but I'm just like, do you think that could be a part of it where they're just like, well, we'll save time and we won't have to have as many people like working on the game if we just then take this mod and like plug it in essentially?
I don't think you're wrong. I think, if I'm being honest with you, I think it's a cost-cutting measure that would have been celebrated
Hmm.
by
If
a
they
lot of
would've just
people.
owned up to it.
If they
Got
had been straightforward and went, we are going to probably use these mods to give this to Ventress, like give Ventress her iconic weapons, or hell, go a step further, pay some of these modders out and use their stuff to put like the crazy cool mods that have been used to add characters who existed after Battlefront 2 2005. I see mods all the time that are like, hey, here's Ventress, here's Kylo Ren, here's Rey, there, or
Yeah.
like, or Ahsoka rather, not Ventress. Like, again, I'm fucking down. Sure, credit those modders, probably pay them, please.
Yeah.
At the very least, put them in the fucking credits.
It's the skeeziness of it, though, of them just being like, oh,
Yeah.
we're just going to take that and plug it in and say, we didn't take any modded content. We did this all on our own, when it's a fucking lie. And the like developer who developed the mod, or the person that developed the mod is like, literally, there's a bug in here that I only know because I created this. Like, that's just bad business practice.
It's bad business practice.
It's
And
not a good look.
even if the mod were not in the game, how the fuck did it end up in your trailer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did you let that happen? And it, like even admitting it was in the trailer is a self-report in many ways, because it's like, so you captured footage of the game using this mod, which means at some point or another, this mod was in the build.
Mm-hmm.
It's a terrible indictment. I am deeply disappointed that this is how the Battlefront Classic Collection panned out. But yeah, so that is there. Circling back over to one other quick story before we jump into our Bad Batch discussion.
Mm-hmm.
As some of you may know, there is a battle for board seats, namely the CEO and president of the company position at the Walt Disney Corporation. There is a number of activist investors, and using that term makes me want to run into fucking traffic to begin with, who are vying for seats to take control from Disney, mostly on the grounds of anti-wokeness.
Oh, God.
I said it and I immediately regretted not having my peanut butter whiskey in here. So in this battle for control of the Walt Disney Corporation, George Lucas himself has weighed in, and I realized I was making the thumbnail for the episode before we started, like right before we started, and it occurred to me, this is the first time I've ever put George Lucas in a thumbnail, because I went to type George Lucas into my images and went, motherfucker, how's that not happened yet? Anyway.
It's crazy.
It's from Todd Spangler at Variety. Star Wars mastermind George Lucas, Disney's largest individual shareholder, has come out with a statement supporting Disney's board and CEO Bob Iger, urging Mouse House investors to reject bids by two activist investor groups to take seats on the media company's board. Quote from Lucas, and get ready, this is fucking bars.
Nope.
Creating magic is not for amateurs.
Sensational. That's his word.
The statement released Tuesday. When I sold Lucasfilm just over a decade ago, I was delighted to become a Disney shareholder because of my longtime admiration for its iconic brand and Bob Iger's leadership. When Bob recently returned to the company during a difficult time, I was relieved. No one knows Disney better. I remain a significant shareholder because I have full faith and confidence in the power of Disney and Bob's track record of driving long-term value. I have voted all of my shares for Disney's 12 directors and urge other shareholders to do the same. And then it goes on to explain that, Iger kind of took the lead with, the acquisition of Lucasfilm, the acquisition of Marvel Entertainment. For greater context, continuing into the article, Disney's 2024 annual shareholders meeting to be held virtually April 3rd. Investors will vote on rival board candidate slates. Disney's own 12-member lineup, Nelson Peltz's train partner, two nominees, Peltz and ex-Disney CFO Jay Razlow. or 3 from investment firm Blackwell's Capital. Peltz Roland has argued that Disney stock has underperformed the market, and the company needs to adopt and execute more urgent strategies to drive sustained and profitable growth. Peltz is also the person who went viral, or not went viral, but like there was viral stories about. God damn it, fucking internet's poisoning my goddamn brain.
It'll do that.
This was the gentleman, and I use that in the loosest definition possible, who was talking about like, why do I need like an all woman or all black cast in my comic book movie? That guy.
Love that.
Yeah. Just again, this is anti-woke bullshit. The thing that I thought was hilarious in the wake of this, and Train Partners, who controls some $3.5 billion worth of Disney stock, 79% of which is owned by ex-Marvel Entertainment chairman Ike Perlmutter. Ike Perlmutter, for those of you at home who are not familiar, was the kind of robber baron who was in control of Marvel Entertainment for a very long time, and is the reason why we did not get Captain Marvel and Black Panther until Phase 3, when they could get him the fuck out. Perlmutter was always very much he was kind of a forerunner for like the anti-woke SJW fucking nonsense.
Well, his name sounds fitting.
Yeah. Ike Perlmutter, huge donor and close friend of former president and fucking criminal Donald J. Trump. If that is any indication of the quality of character at play here. So these are the people who are trying to take over, Disney. And again, far be it from me to go to bat for a CEO, let alone $1 billion corporation. But you arrive at this situation that is very not unlike the current American body politic of, if I could spit in the face of every single Democrat in office right now, I would. Unfortunately, the alternative are like ranting, raving, unhinged fucking fascists.
Yeah.
And you sometimes got to pinch your nose, and I'm not calling these people fascists, but like it's the same dynamic here, where it's like, okay, are we going to run this company, or are we going to like basically turn the Walt Disney Corporation into the Daily Wire?
Yeah, it's weird too. Just as you described the situation, because I didn't even hear about this. I've been working and editing videos, so I feel like I don't know anything that's going on right now. But like just listening to you describe it, it literally sounds like the same bullshit in the political climate, which is just like we've got this middle ground that does nothing, which is kind of like the Democrats, where they just kind of hope that things just stay as they are and don't try to make any changes or try to appease the fucking crazy fascists. And then you have the fucking crazy fascists. So it's like neither is good. Like there needs, I don't want to get too much into politics, but I'm like, where's the other option? Where's the better option?
Yeah. And and there's been a little bit of that with Bob Iger's shit-brained, we're not about agendas, we're about telling a story, whatever the fuck he said back in like November or December. Which you want to talk about pandering, you want to talk about virtue signaling, that's a prime example right there. That is him trying to, what I think was probably him trying to quell this debacle that he saw coming and try to play ball with the Looney Tunes. And spoiler alert, that never fucking works. You cannot appease the people who want your head on a fucking pike. You may delay the piking, the pike will come inevitably. It's again not to like get all the way in and turn this into like a political commentary show. We've never shied away from politics here, but it's not what you come for. But for fuck's sake, like, it's like the fucking Democrats is completely going, just completely handing the border stuff right to the fucking Republicans and just refusing, like, oh, will you like us if we do this? Will you like us? Will you take me to the playground, Dad?
You can't just
if I turn into just as much of a racist lunatic as you. Like, it's the same fucking thing. It's not going to happen. It's not going to fucking work. But I feel like Brooke, were you about to say something? I feel like I just steamrolled
No.
you. No? Okay.
I agree. It's all dumb. It's just the same old bullshit.
Absolutely. And yeah, the thing that I've garnered entertainment from on this, my favorite dipshit Fandom Menace personality these days has been Doomcock. You know, my friends joke. You know, I used to hate watch so much Fandom Menace stuff a while ago. Like
This track's for you.
Yeah, I know. I know thine enemy, but I was watching Geeks and Gamers and the Quartering and fucking Doomcock all the goddamn time. There was one time I had one of their videos on. This is back when I was living in my hometown, and Travis had arrived to record. We were still recording in my Nana's basement at the time. It was pre the studio.
I love that.
And he comes into my Nana's basement, I think while I had a Doomcock video, and I didn't realize he was at the door, but he could hear it and he was listening to it. And eventually he knocked and he was like, if I walk in on you watching this shit again, I'm calling for an intervention, and I'm not fucking joking. Like, you need to stop. He's like, there's no way this is good for you. He's like, you look visibly angry right now. I'm like, I fucking am.
Yeah. No, I hate watching is not worth it. You just lose brain cells at that point.
I know.
It's brain rot.
So this is the thing that I thought was the funniest about like the blowback from this is it happened, and I saw, because I don't follow him on Twitter, but like I saw people screenshotting and making fun of Doomcock's tweet about it.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, this is the final nail in the coffin of Star Wars. George Lucas has sold his soul. George Lucas sold out. Da, 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 da. And I'm like, okay. There's a video coming later. And I'm like, okay.
You were like, all right, I got my popcorn ready. Let's go.
Yeah. So I'm like cleaning the house one night. It was actually the night after our stream last week, Brooke. It was when I went into my like terrifying secret room to like, but I'm cleaning the house a little bit after the stream. My girlfriend goes to bed. I'm like waiting to hear the door close. I wait to hear Dateline start in our room. Turn on the TV, YouTube.
This is like your forbidden desire over
I
here.
know. I don't want anybody to watch me do this. I don't want to be seen bathing in this shit. And I watched the video, and it was so fucking funny because like Doomcock is ranting and raving about like the last chance to save Star Wars was George Lucas. That Star Wars is irrevocably dead now because George Lucas sided with Bob Iger. And I'm just sitting there, and I'm waiting for him to elaborate on that. You know, not that any of his like sources or leads or scoops. Using scoop again very generously here. Like none of any of it pans out, but at least normally like he builds on it. He has a follow up. He has something he has like an explanation of what he's saying, and he just keeps repeating that because George Lucas sided with Bob Iger, Star Wars is officially dead. And I'm just sitting there. I'm like, are you implying that at some point George was going to take the company back? Because that is the only conclusion you can draw from the way he's speaking.
That's their solution. That's all of their solutions. They're like, George is gonna come back and take it. And no, he's not. He's chilling. He's retired.
It was just so bizarre, just the way that he kept talking about something. He kept talking about how George siding with Bob means that it's all over now. And I'm like, okay. George hasn't been involved for the better part of a decade.
I was gonna say, yeah, it's been like 12 years at this point.
Yeah, just over a decade. So like, what do you mean? What the actual fuck are you talking about? And
This is your entertainment, Jared. I'm asking you the same thing.
I don't know,
What are you
motherfucker. I'm
watching it
just as
for?
confused. I have no clue. I have no idea
So it
what
wasn't even
any of this
fun.
means.
It wasn't even fun this time around because there was literally no merit. I mean, there's
I
never
was just
any, but,
so
like,
confused. I was just baffled. I was befuddled. I was gobsmacked. I was bamboozled. I have more. Like I just don't get it. I don't understand what George Lucas saying. The guy who made me $4 billion should stay in charge means to Star Wars. He hasn't been involved. The biggest contribution George Lucas made to Star Wars in the last 12 years was naming that guy Axe Woves.
well, we also got that photo of him cradling Baby Yoda too. So
And laughing with Rosario. So fair. So the big three are holding Grogu, him and Rosario laughing. And what I choose to believe is one day on set, he looked at, I don't remember the name of the actor, but just this unnamed Mandalorian in Bo-Katan's posse and just goes, his name's Axe Woves. And then John and Dave just went,
Okay.
yeah, okay.
Yes, God.
Sure.
literally,
Yeah, yes, God.
They each kissed him on the cheek and were like, "Thank you, Master. You're so brilliant."
Here's a Diet Coke. Here's some Sbarro. Like, just go do your fucking thing, man. Like, it's I am just baffled by like sincerely. I want to ask Doomcock, what did you think was happening?
Maybe you should have him on next week's show. Y'all can talk about it.
I will violate TOS in 5 seconds. I will fucking. I would like this video to stay up, so no further comment. The audio version will stay up because Spotify will let anything play on that whole shithole. But yeah, so that's our news for the week. Battlefront's bad, and Nerd QAnon is still doing their thing. So jumping in to these last 2 episodes of the Bad Batch. Brooke, I'll throw to you first for Bad Territory. Overall thoughts.
I had to remember what happened in that episode because I was like, I'm just still thinking about yesterday's. But I thought it was, I feel like I like this season because they're spending more time with like less care. Like they're focusing more on like just 1 or 2 characters per episode, like more intimate.
Yeah.
And so it was cool.
More intimate is a great way to put it. Yeah.
To focus on like Hunter and Wrecker going on a little mission together because like for a long time they were the only members of the Bad Batch.
Yeah.
In between seasons 2 and 3, you know, like it looks like there was a time jump, so we got to see what they've been up to and how they work together, which is very different from how we first saw the Batch
together and in mourning. You know, like I think one of the most fascinating things about the state that they're in and the state we see them in at the beginning of season 3 is that, at no point until now has Clone Force 99 fallen below the amount of people they started with. Because they got 1 at the end of the war. So it was like Hunter, Tech, Wrecker, Crosshair, Echo. So they were like, so we're at 5 now. So we got +1. Cool. And then for a minute there's 6 once Omega joins the fold. And then Crosshair immediately chooses the Empire. So it's like, okay, we're back down to 5, but that's still like
still a group.
That's still our threathold.
Still a batch.
I'm still literally a batch. We're still we're still just under half a dozen. This is our normal number. These days, so we trade Crosshair for Mega. And then Tech dies.
Yeah.
And that's this unfathomable gut punch. And it's like for the first time, we're down to 4. and that's terrifying. Or the Echo walks away. Echo's like, I'm going to do my own thing. I'm part timer. It's like I compare him to Batman in like the Justice League animated series, where he's like, I have a key fob to the club, but like I have keys to the Marauder, but I'm not there a lot. So like it's like, okay, like Tech is gone, but we're still mostly us, and then Tech dies.
Mm-hmm.
And that's irrevocable. And again, I think that the nature of loss and the relationship the Bad Batch has to losing its team members, because you lose one to betrayal. Echo never quite felt at home, but he's still around.
Yeah.
So you have that, but like, because Tech died in the field, it is so wildly different that, this person did not choose to leave. They were ripped away from us.
Exactly. At least they knew that Crosshair, he was still out in the galaxy. There was a chance he could come back. Same with Echo, but Tech literally doesn't exist anymore. He is complete. As far as we know, he doesn't exist anymore. He is dead. So there's no chance of him coming back. It's
and then Omega's taken, and is, and again, it's these different flavors of loss of like, well, I was called him Deadshot. Crosshair walks away, and it's a gut punch because it's this betrayal.
Mm-hmm.
And he's hunting us for the better part of the first season. And Echo is part-timer. He's a part-timer now. We'll see him from time to time, I'm sure. But like, he's gone, but it's dubious. Tech is dead. He died in the line of duty. And then Omega's taken away from us. And the thing that is so, I think, visceral about that is that, and it's kind of macabre. And Brooke, thank you for starting the conversation. Is that like, at least you know what's happened to Tech.
Mm.
There's an unfortunate certainty in his death that he gave his life heroically. He died nobly, and he's gone. You miss him forever, but like, we know what happened.
Mm-hmm. There's
Omega's
closure.
There's closure. Omega's in the fucking wind. And you have to just count on she's too valuable to kill. And I think that there's something fascinating about the fact that Hunter and Wrecker both are very pragmatic people. The Bad Batch, like as a whole, there's not like Omega's the only one who has like a Pollyanna strain to her. And I think it's really fascinating. Again, and this season's been so good at these like unspoken character beats that you don't pick up on unless you're really stewing on what you're seeing. And this idea that like at no point do Hunter and Wrecker ever truly come to terms with the idea that Omega could be dead.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, true.
It's never even brought up as an option, which speaks again to the level of desperation.
Mm-hmm.
That it's like we got to get her back at any cost. We got to get her back. Like that's not up for debate because she's out there, obviously, and you don't fucking know that. You have no reason to assume that. You don't even know where this place fucking is, and you're riding on her still being alive.
Well, and we see Wrecker has to be the voice of reason to at this point.
Yeah,
for Hunter, which is insane compared to the first two seasons.
Yeah, like how much have the wheels fallen the fuck off? That punchy boom boom is the adult in the room. He's the only one who does not sound like a fucking lunatic. It is so emotionally resonant, and the fact that everybody has gone in these different directions. Crosshair aligning with the Empire, Tech pursuing like a clone liberation, a more forthright, version, more aggressive. This is the thing I'm fighting for, clone liberation. Tech's gone, Omega's been captured. Like leaving just these two in that state. I think at this stage, if I have a real gripe with the season, is that I kind of wish I got more desperation from Hunter and Wrecker. I wish I could have gotten to see more of that, like, Hunter, this is fucking insane. I know they have her though, so we have to do whatever the fuck we need to do. And I think that was something that I think that's why I was so happy to see this episode. Is there is that, we have to go just do a job. We just have to go do a job for Fennec Shand, because otherwise, how else do we know why they're hunting her? And that, again, like this idea that there's a legitimate sense of paranoia that has taken over the batch, that they could just be like, okay, we're good, we got her, we're on Pabu, we're kicking it. But a sincere sense of paranoia has set in that it's like, well, we need to know why.
Yeah.
And how and what and where. Like that all that they can focus on is, if we don't know why, we can't protect her. That I think is just a really fascinating angle, because again, this group of like very pragmatic people, you'd think that that at some point they all go, all right, we got her, and the Empire doesn't know about Pabu, we're fine. But that paranoia creeps in. And as you said, Brooke, the word residual, it's so perfect there, that it is that, like, I don't think Hunter can ever let go of that level of by any means. By any means, whatever we have to do is what we do. I thought was really cool. I'm sorry, you got me down a line of thought that was very fascinating, Brooke. I apologize. I kind of hijacked your time there.
No, you're good. I will say, because I am me, I am who I am. Everybody drink. I'm gonna make a Last of Us connection.
Please do. That is insight I invite you onto this show to hear.
So I feel like at the end of the last season, when Omega gets taken, everyone was like, oh my god, Hunter's gonna get in his Joel Miller era, like he's gonna fuck some people up. And I agree. I wish we would have seen more of the like desperation of trying to find her. I do like that Omega was like, nah bro, I'm Ellie, I'm gonna save myself, like Ellie does in the game in The Last of Us. I think I'm getting a little ahead of myself here, because I'm like making some predictions about what's gonna happen. I see Joel in Crosshair this season more than I've seen him in Hunter. And I don't like where it's gonna go. I don't like where my brain knows it's gonna. So I just feel like,
do they have golf in space?
I don't know, but I just feel like
I wasn't sure if I was going to get cussed out for that joke or not. I was like, oh, brace for it.
No. It's fine. It's okay. We're coping. No, but I feel like by the end of this season, something is going to happen to. I'm just like skipping completely over these episodes. I feel like something's going to happen to Omega. She gets taken again. They find her, whatever. Crosshair is like, no, the fuck you don't. And he's not going to make it out. I don't think he's getting too close to Omega for my liking. I'm like, they're going to pull on our heartstrings by the end of this show. Well, and with my track record of old men, reluctant adopted dad tropes that I like, it's also not looking great for him. So, yeah.
I mean, you got Din still.
For now. You know how many people, every time I bring up the Mandalorian movie or someone brings up the Mandalorian movie, they're like, yeah, he's going to die. He's going to die by the end. I'm like, Why you do that? Why you gotta do that, bro? Why?
If Din dies, it is the end. Like it is whatever the
Now that is the end
Mandalorian
of Star
Avengers
Wars,
movie.
Doomcock. Fuck you. It's not George Lucas supporting Bob Iger. It's them killing off the love of my life.
I don't know if I agree with that statement. I feel like, okay, only because I feel like Grogu can live on and carry that. And they already pushed in a way for season 3 with Bo-Katan, which I loved because I love her. But like, I don't think that'll ruin it. I think we can go on without Din. But I don't want to get too off topic and start talking about this.
Oh, no, absolutely. Well, I think that's fascinating, Brooke, because the prediction I've seen that I am deeply fascinated by. I wouldn't necessarily say like I've hitched my wagon to it or I'm pulling for it. Is this idea that Crosshair and Omega will be the last clone standing. And that it will come down to the two of them, and that Hunter and Wrecker and Echo will be the ones to fall. And that the ones left, that to get this really emotionally resonant heartbreaker is I had so little time left with my brothers. And look at this time that I squandered. And now they're gone. And now it falls to me, the arguably least qualified fucking person, to watch after this kid, to protect her. And that Omega
I
will
would prefer that. I would prefer that because with Star Wars track record, characters can be redeemed, but we don't see them live long enough to atone. And I would love to see that actually come to fruition with Crosshair, because I think that is so much more. Like, think about Callus. Like, Callus is probably the best redemption into atonement that we've seen from Star Wars. Like, Ben Solo is my favorite Star Wars character. I think it would have been a much more interesting story to see him live and have to like live with his actions. We got that a little with Callus, but Callus was still kind of like a side character. Crosshair is much more of a main character. And so to see that, I would prefer that. I'm just not expecting that because that's not what we've seen with the tropes that they do in Star Wars, I would like it though. I would be sad to see all the other ones go.
Well, not to get too far ahead of ourselves in this one and jump into Harbinger. I don't think Omega is ever going to choose to walk away from the Bad Batch.
Oh, no.
But
she is a betcha for life.
She's a betcha for life. I can't do the fucking voice.
No, that was a little Irish.
I know, it turned Irish at the end. I'm like fucking Henry Zabrowski. Every impression slowly turned. I was like, I'm 99% sure Brooke will get this joke.
Not a smile.
You'd like last podcast on the left, Scotty.
I'm sure.
But no, will Omega ever choose to walk away? No. Is the only way for her to understand the nature of her connection to the Force losing them and the Force making that decision for her? Maybe.
And maybe we'll get, I'm jumping ahead again to the next episode, but maybe we'll get Crosshair and Ventress and Omega, and they all live happily together, happily ever after. Forever.
Listen.
Don't subscribe to that. Vostress, not ask.
I gotta put my cards on the table real quick. I say this as somebody who is pedestrian at best when it comes to ship culture. I say this knowing that a large chunk of my prominent, like my very, again, like Z-list micro niche internet personality, that a lot of people found me because I was like, and this is before I knew I was bi and out, because I was the straight guy Raylo. that I was the guy who's just a dude who was like, Raylo fucking rules, man. And because of the platform I was given by Girls with Sabers, and them kind of co-signing me in the Raylo community, that I picked up a sizable cachet with that crowd. But shipping has never been something I was like super involved in. It's like a fandom culture thing. So I don't want to sound like I'm yucking anybody's yums. I do not fucking understand ass hair.
Okay, I understand it.
I don't. They don't fucking talk, Scotty. They don't have a conversation. They don't. He points a gun at her.
Here's the thing.
There's a passing reference to, hey, you're a diet Sith Lord, and he helps her up onto the ship. I saw all of Twitter going ape shit for ass hair all day yesterday. I got home, I put on these episodes of the fucking Bad Batch, and I'm like, I can't wait to see what sexual tension is between Asajj Ventress and Crosshair. And the most interaction they have is, and I'm like, are you fucking with me right now?
Okay, but like, I am not an ass hair shipper. I feel insane just saying that. I am an ass hair shipper, but not in the Star Wars sense.
Ayo!
So, like, Crosshair's such an asshole. So it's the fact that he even just extends a hand to Ventress just opens up this weird dynamic, and that she accepts it, and it's that kind of look that's given. And like, I'm a Ventress stan. I wouldn't consider myself a Crosshair stan, but like, there was some weird kind of moment that I feel like happened. Would you agree, Brooke? Because you ship them.
Yeah, no, it was funny because I saw. Listen, I am a slut for some hand touching. Okay, the sexiest thing a man can do is hold out his hand. You know, Pride and Prejudice, The Last Jedi. You get some hand touching in there. I'm sold. You've sold me. But it's funny because like maybe I'm just delusional. And then I go on Twitter and I see other people talking about it. And I'm like, I feel so validated. Do I actually like care that much if anything ever happens after this, you know? It would not break my heart if this was all we got. But like, it was just funny. And then I feel like they're setting something up for Ventress to come back and interact with Omega more. I know a lot of people were talking about like, oh, this episode was a backdoor pilot to whatever they're planning next. And I'm just like,
I'm signed up. I'm signed up
backdoor...
for the backdoor pilot.
I'm signed up for it too, but it's like, okay, shut the fuck up. Like that.
Yeah.
That was the weakest backdoor pilot ever. Like, it just felt like an episode. Like, you can kind of tell when something is a backdoor pilot. Mm-hmm. Regardless, I will be sat for a Ventress Omega spinoff. But it was just funny, and I'm here for it. A lot of people are angry about it.
I'm not angry. I'm
no, but I did see a lot of people. There were a lot of Crosshair haters. And there's also this whole other thing. I mean, we can get into the like, oh, did this retcon Dark Disciple, blah, blah, blah stuff. And there are a lot of like Quinlan, Ventress, like Truther. Like that's like their like #1 Star Wars ship. And I love them too. I love Dark Disciple. I spent like $60 on the hardcover book.
You fucking bitch. I'm so jealous.
Go to thrift books and look at their collectible section, like their collectible books, because that's where I found it.
Yep. So everybody use code BDazzler on thriftbook.com for your Dark Disciple hardcover.
And then step on your Sunday's Bloody Mary. Oh.
But no, I'm just here for. I feel like we are so devoid of like palpable like chemistry in our fiction, you know, like everyone's hot but no one's horny, that anytime I get a crumb and I'm like, okay, A03 archiveofourown.com.
Yep. Yeah, you're right. Lots of hot
Everyone's
people.
hot, but nobody's horny.
I've heard, I don't coin that. I've heard that before. But like I feel like this is why I'm gonna go on a tangent. This is why I like all the controversial ships, is because it's like two hot people that actually have chemistry with each other.
Yeah.
You know? I'm gonna ship it.
Shit.
You can't tell me not to. I don't care if Loki and Sylvie are the same person. I don't care that Damon and Rhaenyra are related. They're hot and they have chemistry. Take it up with God. Take it up with God.
Listen, I am
gods
a
are the new
Silky.
ones.
I am a okay. I am a Silky. That's the other ship I have like any real investment in. And listen, I'm about to say something that's going to get clipped so fucking fast. I'm not here to go to bat for incest here, but I'll leave the space there so fucking Paco can clip this for the TNAP Discord. You're welcome, buddy. That's on the fucking table in Game of Thrones.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I can
Like, it's
separate
not-
it from
it's-
reality.
It's
You
not
know?
like it's not like it's a fucking taboo with that universe.
We've been here, done that. Like,
Cause it's
not
fuck. Come on. Like, and there's the other clip. It's gonna be stitched together just like that. I'm not here to go to bat for incest, but cut. Cause it's
Cousins.
fuck. Yeah.
new.
And you said you didn't. And you said you didn't do ships. You just like all the incest ships. That's
shut
why.
the fuck up, Scotty. Don't put that devil on me. Don't put that devil on me. So it's deleting Luke and Leia shit from my AO3. But I don't. I used AO3 like 2 times, and both times I was horrified. I was so scared.
Oh, you didn't
I
click
was
on
like,
the right ones
listen,
then.
listen. I had a similar experience for both the 2 times I ever used AO3 to read something and the 15 minutes I had a Grindr account.
Mm.
It was the same fucking level of terror of like, need to check out because I am clearly not as cool or punk as I thought I was. I am a normie, and I'm gonna take my ass back to Twitter, and I'm gonna take my ass back to Tinder and Bumble. No. Come get me. I'm scared. It's like fucking rock bottom and SpongeBob. But that was lovely. But with Bad Territory, one of the other things I really loved, seeing Fennec Shand again, was a treat.
I was
one of the
thinking
things-
the same word. I was thinking
I-
treat. You said it.
It really was. One of the things I love, and again, this is just one of those fun things with interconnected long form storytelling, is getting to watch the slow, very slow de-assholification of Fennec Shand.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
You know, that there is very clearly a part of her brain that is like, bitch, you know you have a moral obligation to help these fucking people.
Mm-hmm.
Be a prick about it. Be a fucking prick about it. Have them intern for you on this bounty hunting job.
Mm-hmm.
Be a prick about it. You have a moral imperative to help them because you care about this fucking kid too.
For sure.
And I think it's deeply fascinating. And again, like getting to see Fennec go from child abduction to I am so down to clown for this noble cause that I am going to brutally murder all of the mafia dons on Tatooine. Not for money, not for any type of direct personal gain, but because we've all agreed that these people who would give you a hell of a check if you turned if you switch sides, assassinating like all like 4 or 5 of them. Like, and how honor bound Fennec does truly become, and a lot of that is the good influence of Boba Fett. And I think that again, so much of that slow turn, again, not necessarily towards good. It's one of the reasons why I love Book of Boba Fett so much, is that it is a show that, like most Star Wars stories, has a very clear good guy, but nobody involved except for Din Djarin is a hero. Like, they are doing heroic things, and Boba Fett at this point is probably a hero to the people of Mos Espa. But he's not like, that's not him.
Yeah, he's still taking over criminal empire.
he's still a mafia don. He's a cool one, but he's still a don. Like it's please stop telling me that Andor is the only Star Wars show with gray moral ambiguity. The main hero of the show, you all say is terrible, is a fucking gangbanger. Shut the fuck up. But yeah, so but seeing that like Fennec has this relationship with like the progeny of Jango Fett's, the progeny of Jango Fett, I just think is really interesting, and that like I think you could draw like very interesting parallels to this idea that she exists, in that space that was a vacuum left by the death of Jango Fett, that allowed a lot of bounty hunters, your Bosks, your Cad Banes, your Dengars, and her, and I'm counting Boba because like the direct like legacy element of that.
Yeah.
But like in the vacuum that was left by Jango Fett dying in the first Battle of Geonosis, a lot of people got really rich filling his Beskar boots, and I love this idea that Fennec begins this journey kind of filling that void left by Jango Fett, and it is slowly the people who do carry his torch that kind of help her save her own soul in many ways. I think that's very fascinating, and I look forward to seeing how, not necessarily how her story ends in terms of like her dying or anything, but I look forward to seeing like what comes of Fennec Shand, and that she is in so many ways like, you can track the moment Mace Windu beheads Jango Fett to her hanging Mok Shaiz, and that along the way it's clones of Jango Fett's son, this guy who is like, who lives in the same like cultural vicinity as Jango Fett, who is like, who in many ways with Din and Bo-Katan, like indirect associates of, Jango flirted with Death Watch for a little bit, so there's a little bit of that sprinkled in there, like the Death Watch felt inclined to rise up the way they did, I think kind of by inspiration of Jango, and there's, I don't know how canon Jango's bad relationship with Death Watch is still, but that's a thing, and I think that's very fascinating for her. And as we've talked about earlier, like the desperation of Hunter and Wrecker, and her choosing to like not exploit it, but pretend she is, and that very brief moment of like, so what the fuck happened to the kid? Of like trying to frame it in this apathetic way, but you can tell that she gives a damn.
Yeah, because she wouldn't ask if she didn't. She
wouldn't ask if she didn't. And like, again, kudos to the animation team that we had a scene where we can barely see her face, but just that beat of like that close up of her eyes through the like little slit in her helmet. It's such a great beat. And I really do love it. And I love the way that, Omega, and this is something that kind of marries these two episodes and talking about them, and why I'm kind of glad we're talking about them in tandem. Seeing Omega just kind of be like, oh yeah, so my buddy Gungi taught me about meditation, and like sit down with
That
me and
was
we're going
so
to try to
cute.
focus and we're going to try to do this thing.
Yeah.
And I love the idea that like like these are the beginning, like again, that in very Star Wars way, you know, and very X-Men way as well, that it's that like you may not know you're using like magic powers. That's what you're doing.
Yeah,
Like,
you're doing
you know, and yeah,
magic hand thing. Well, she'll get there.
yeah, but no, like seeing Crosshair, you know, like he is soothed by Omega's presence and following her lead, but like I truly think in that moment Omega is sincerely tapping into the power of the Force. Which I just love that beat between the two of them. That like, yeah, kid, of course this comes naturally to you. No wonder like you befriend everybody around you. You're so naturally empathetic because like you are unconsciously tapping into the fucking Force. And I really do think that it set the table very nicely for this episode. But yeah, Brooke, since you are going to have to boogie in a minute, we will transition into Harbinger, and any other thoughts you have on that episode, I am going to fully give you the floor to, and try not to get excited by you saying clever shit and then me getting excited to expand upon, as I have a tendency to do. I apologize.
I really liked this episode. I didn't know what to expect with Ventress. I saw some people saying at the end of Bad Territory, oh, Fennec's talking to Boba Fett or whatever, and I'm like, no, she's obviously talking to Ventress. And I love that they've got like little girl gang going on.
Yeah.
And I think it was cool that it kind of, I feel like our expectations maybe were subverted a little with Ventress's role in the show, because you know they're sending out another bounty hunter, because she was kind of involved with the bounty hunters in the Clone Wars, so that's kind of what I assumed. Oh, you know, she was sent out. I don't know why she would be working for the Empire, but maybe she didn't know that's who she was employed by or whatever. But seeing her, like, I feel like that this episode of Ventress was kind of like a spiritual continuation of her story in Dark Disciple. If you've read it, there are a lot of, you know, debate on whether or not it was retconned because she died in the book, blah blah blah. And I'm just like, let's just think about for 2 seconds where she came from. How many people from Dathomir have we seen brought back to life? Like,
not to interrupt you, and I'll be brief with this. I don't know why the term retcon has like is viewed as a pejorative at this point.
And it's not a bad thing, because it doesn't necessarily mean you're breaking canon. You're just changing what we previously understood to be what happened.
Yeah.
And they're doing it.
And
I think Jennifer Corbett had tweeted like this, you know, her return was not explained, but that doesn't mean that we don't have a reason for why, you know, which makes me think that we're not going to see that this isn't the last of Ventress. I don't know why they would make an entire like character model of her looking like that and not bring her back at some point, you know?
Well,
so
you mentioned the backdoor pilot discourse, and again, I'll be brief here because I don't want to consume your time, but like, that's also my thing with like, I am inclined to believe the backdoor pilot theory because it's what happened with the Bad Batch. You know, that this idea of it's our last hurrah, it's our last season, and in the middle of it, we're going to pepper in this idea that you're going to also see these folks later, and they spent the time and the resources to create models, very detailed, complex models for these characters. Same with Trace and Rafa Martez. We see them again later. I am fully convinced that this is just going to become the Lucasfilm animation tradition. That in the last season, it's like, oh yeah, by the way, hint, hint, wink, wink. Something's
Which
coming.
makes sense. I don't know why they would just be like, oh, this is the last of Star Wars animation, because Star Wars animation is really good and really successful. I don't know why they would stop.
Yeah.
You know? So I hope that they give us more.
I don't think, too, with all the stuff they've done with Nika Futterman, Ventress's voice actress, if they weren't planning to do more Ventress animated specifically, they wouldn't be doing all these interviews with her and talking with her about Ventress. Because did they do that with Ashley when Ahsoka was coming to live action? No.
Right.
But we're getting it with Ventress's voice actress, which makes me believe, yeah, we're getting more Ventress in animation. So,
absolutely.
I'm ready.
I am too, and I really do love this episode, and I love, as you said, is a fantastic, because you said the spiritual continuation of Dark Disciple.
Mhm.
Seeing her in a context where she is again trying to guide somebody through the nature of the Force, only this time it's watching Ventress struggle to teach like a Jedi. That I thought was deeply fascinating.
Mhm.
Because because it's dark side stronger, it's quicker, it's more seductive. That idea that like it's easier to infect somebody with anger and hatred than it is to like focus, what do you see type shit. Like it's harder to do the fucking, your eyes will deceive you shit than it is to be like, hey, see that snake? Fucking kill it.
Yeah.
You see that sea monster? Kill it. And I love that her big moment is in pacifying a sea monster. Like,
Well, and that's what she did with Quinlan in the game,
Yeah.
in the book. She was like, hey, kill this thing. Like, she was trying to get him to tap into the dark side, to see her to do the exact opposite in the show was so cool. And I'm so glad. I was watching Screen Crush's episode or video on this episode, and even they said, it was cool. I was expecting Omega to be the one to like calm this big like Kraken creature down with like the Force, and it was like, no, we're gonna actually show you Ventress doing that to see how far she's come from when we are introduced to her in the Clone Wars. Even if you didn't read Dark Disciple, just seeing her journey there and having Omega with this kind of like what could be like a female role model for her. Mm-hmm. Which I am desperate for, a like Din and Grogu, Joel and Ellie relationship, like adopted child, but with a female character as like a maternal figure, because we don't see that nearly as, or like, because we get, there's The Witcher, we get Geralt and Ciri, but we don't ever see a female character in that same role. And so I'm like desperate for more of that. I loved this episode from that perspective.
Mm-hmm. Oh, 100%. And like you said, and I was the bend this season was taking with the whole idea of like what is Ventress's reason for being here? When they go to Fennec and they're like, well, she might know something about this M count thing. Again, not to say that these characters can't be morally complicated, but there was a part of me that was like kind of freaked out by the very implication of like, oh yeah, fucking Ventress and or Fennec have been feeding the Empire children.
Yeah.
Or just maybe Force sensitives in general. But like I was so happy for there to be this like recognition of like Fennec doesn't get it, but she knows it's bad. And Ventress, bless you.
Thank you.
Being able to be like, yeah, no, like what they're doing is vile. And if she doesn't think she can do it, she will feel like she's safer. And just that, it's so eerie. And that there's again, kind of like we were talking about the Book of Boba Fett, like, yeah, you're doing better. You're probably on the right side of history here. But like, she's also so jaded by what's happened to her that on some level, maybe not knowing you're a space wizard is the best thing I can give you, because it ruined my fucking life.
Yeah, multiple times.
Multiple times. It got me killed. But yeah. Brooke, any closing thoughts before you boogie and do your plugs, including the thing you're going to go do?
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. This was fun. I love talking about Night Sister stuff, even though we didn't really talk about that, but I love Ventress. Yeah. You can find me on the internet, _bedazzler_ on most places. And I'm about to go record our Better Than a Stick tabletop Star Wars RPG with Master Allen of Level Up Sabers, which you can watch on his YouTube channel. It's really fun. The first season was set in the High Republic. Second season now is set in the Empire times. I played a Night Sister, and now I play a Southern Belle Twi'lek, who's a pilot. Ooh. She's great. Yeah.
Ooh, I love it. I love it. I am constantly being made fun of by my Ionized Bastards castmates for the fact that in every single tabletop setting we've ever been in, I insist on playing some type of queer coded swashbuckler.
Amazing.
Fitting.
So you thank you. So I commend you for being able to break the mold in a way that I don't think I can quite yet. But absolutely, go check out Better to the Stick. Go follow Brooke on the Clock app, as the kids call it. Well, you can at least. Yeah, thank you, Brooke. It's always a pleasure to have you on the show.
Of course.
Have fun recording. Roll well for all of us. I know I
Thank
can't
you.
say
I
I
need
did
it.
the same in the last episode of Ionized Bastards. So yeah, have a good one and go follow Brooke and everything. And
Thanks.
thank you for joining us, my friend.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye, Brooke. All right. Now we can flirt with each other. Staying in the edit as well. But no,
I've been
wanna-
holding my mouth shut because I was like, Brooke's gotta go. I can talk about Ventress for hours. She's one of my favorite characters, if not at this point, my favorite Star Wars character. But I was like, keep it in. She's on a time limit.
Well, I will give you the floor then to talk your shit about Ventress in this episode.
It's so interesting seeing where she's kind of come. One of my favorite things about her, and I've talked about this on my YouTube channel and in content that I've made. I think one of my favorite Ventress Star Wars things is the bounty episode of Clone Wars, because that's where we start to see the real change in her after she's lost everything and she's kind of forced to do her own thing at that point. She doesn't know where to go. She has to go work with Boba Fett, young Boba Fett, Bosk, all the bounty hunters we talked about earlier. And like, she makes a choice to be better. And at that point, that's when we see her on this kind of, I don't even want to say that she's, I don't even want to say, I guess, that she's getting better. I want to say that she's becoming more of the best version of herself that she is going to be. And we see that continue when she helps Ahsoka and when Ahsoka's being framed for the bombing of the Jedi Temple. We've already talked about Dark Disciple and the journey she goes on in just that book. And then to see, as Brooke mentioned, the continuation of where she was at Dark Disciple and then into this episode with Omega, it was, I don't know, there's this weird calmness about her also that definitely we'd never really seen before. And like you mentioned, that she's kind of trying to teach like a
Yeah.
Jedi. I almost feel like she's one of the more balanced characters, at least at this point in her life and in the Star Wars canon up until this point. She just feels really balanced. And I think that's also displayed because, oh, I didn't even realize you paused.
So we are back. Brief technical difficulty. You were talking about a calm and Ventress we've never seen before.
Yeah, it almost is like Ventress's calmness. She feels like one of the most balanced Force users, at least at this point in the timeline, to me. And I think we kind of also see that when she does call on the creatures in the ocean, because the little cute neon little stingray looking creatures come, but then also this kind of big scary creature comes, and it's like that was her darker nature in the Force. We saw the light nature, we saw the dark part of it, and then like we just talked about, she then calms it, and like she's just in such a good place, and it makes me so happy.
Absolutely. I love that idea that, that Ventress, that it is almost a manifestation of who she is now and where she's been with like the animals she calls, that it's just, oh, they look a little fishy. And then fucking like
Big scary
the
Kraken.
the fucking Kraken. And I think that's a very poignant thing to point out. I think that, this is something I like about this a lot, is that when we often talk about, that very balanced, secure in the Force archetype,
Mhm.
that Rey and Qui-Gon and Cal come to mind, where it's that like I am very centered and with my peace. That it's an attribute in Kanan Jarrus that I like in my Jedi a lot. And I love seeing this inversion of it, that it is, I am centered and I am peaceful because I have to make a conscious effort to be so.
Mm-hmm.
That it portends towards, pardon me, hiccups. That there is that there is this like storm raging just beneath the surface. That she has matured enough to understand that she needs to master. And
Mm-hmm.
the intervening time between the Bad Batch and Dark Disciple, that she has gained a level of control over. And that, you know, when I was listening to Dark Disciple for the first time a couple months ago, this incredible beat with her choosing to dive in front of the lightning for Quinlan,
Mm-hmm.
that it comes with that, like, this recognition of, oh, this is the first time I've truly tapped into the light.
Yes.
And that that it is so momentous for her. And that, you know, it is the metaphor about addiction with the dark side that I love so much, that like a recovering addict, that it is like, once, you know, like when Yoda says, once you start down the dark path, forever it will dominate your destiny. I firmly believe that doesn't mean that, like, once you tap into the dark side, you are a dark sider for life.
Yeah.
You have to choose the light every day now. That, you know, for those who never dip their toe into the dark side, you sure, you have to choose the light every day, but there comes a point where it's what you know. You know,
Yeah.
Obi-Wan Kenobi doesn't get a cookie for not freaking the fuck out and slaughtering a room full of people. It's not in his character. He
Yeah.
is he has developed himself as a man, as a Jedi, as a person, to not do that. That it is people like Asajj Ventress, where your commitment to the light side of the Force has to be a conscious effort. It has to be something that you are just so aware of. As aware of you are standing there, you have to be aware of where you are, kind of on that sliding scale of light and dark. That it was so fascinating to watch her in
Yeah.
this episode because of that.
Well, it's kind of like real life too. Like we all can be shitty people. Everybody can be selfish in a negative way. Everybody can think of only themselves. We all have to choose to be a good person and a better person. Like, you don't just wake up being a good person. And sometimes being a good person can be like almost toxic in a sense, where you're like, well, I'm a good person and they're not as good as me. And like things like
Yeah,
that. You know what I mean?
absolutely. And yeah, I just seeing where she's at, and again, I truly hope, be it in this season of television with what we have left, or, you know, that this is a backdoor pilot and this is teeing up another story, or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
I am very, very, very hopeful we get to see her again.
Oh yeah.
And, you know, the tension of the batch trusting Ventress, the thing that, you know, I was joking earlier, and I'm sad Brooke isn't here to hear me eat my words a little bit, that I kind of committed to the bit a little hard there. I think the thing that makes the that makes ass hair compelling, is, you know, and again, I've always talked about, one of the reasons why I loved Raylo so much
Hmm.
as a ship is its dichotomous nature, and the way that there is and it is that inversion happening, that for me there has to be a very deep thematic, like, foundation to ships for me to get super involved. And in the case of Raylo, you have this heir to this heroic family who is defined by being, you know, the child of these war heroes, the nephew
Hmm.
of arguably the greatest Jedi to ever live, and the grandfather of this very complicated individual. And it is like, which one of these birthrights is going to win the day for you?
Yeah.
Which one of these things is either going to be something that you fully do aspire to be and live up to, and which of these is going to kind of drive you fucking crazy, and which one are you going to choose once you've either been crushed or driven mad by it, and you again have the end of this lineage of heroes choose darkness. Meanwhile, you have the ain't shit, ain't never been shit, ain't never will be shit, sand rat who wants nothing more than to be part of a great legacy, romantically entangled with the person who was driven mad by legacy. And that reflection of them both, and then you add in, I come from this great line of heroes. I am descended from the greatest darkness the galaxy's ever known. Once you add the Rise of Skywalker into that equation, that makes it deeply fascinating. And here, I love this idea of, with Crosshair and Ventress, to pay it lip service, that idea of, well, we can't trust you. We know what you did to our brothers. You're this monster. You're a killer. You're ruthless. You like, again, like we've seen the horrors of your warpath. Crosshair gets it.
Literally, and Omega calls him out about it. And I love the scene where Ventress was like, "Did they tell you everything that I did?" And she's like, "Yep, but you're still here, so that's why I'm trusting you, because you didn't leave and you didn't try to kill us when you had the chance."
Yeah, and that I love this idea of, again, like, this is where, like, I can get down with ass hair. Have fun with that clip. That I could get down with it, with this idea of Crosshair kind of looking to Ventress as like, well, you did it. You found a way to at least try to unfuck what you did.
Yeah.
Got any pointers? Like, can you help me find my way back to an inner peace that I never had to begin with? And help me get there. And that dichotomous relationship is something I find deeply, deeply fascinating.
I had to yell at my screen when they pulled up her little file. I was like, she got a full pardon. The woman was pardoned by the Jedi Council, and you're like, look at all her war crimes. I'm like, I thought we were aligning with Dark Disciple here, Brad Rao. I didn't see nothing about her pardon in there. But that's just the Dark Disciple nerd in me.
Well, okay, I will make a defense.
Okay.
And it's not one that will make you happy.
I was going to say, we'll see if I accept it, but go ahead.
I think one could argue that she did not live long enough with that pardon for it to ever end up on the record.
Oh, or the Jedi didn't have much time to get it put into the system.
That nobody involved with that. Ventress is cool. And that maybe even by the time they're like, yeah, she's pardoned and we got to process all this, that by the time she had died the first time, it kind of got to a point of like, there's a whole ass war going on. I don't think we'll get around to giving her a posthumous pardon.
Yeah.
After we've defeated Dooku, Grievous, and whoever the fuck this Sidious guy is.
Well, and that's what I was going to say. If that ever came across Sidious's desk, he would gladly erase her pardon from the archives. Because he was like, that bitch shouldn't even be alive, Dooku, and you fucked that up.
Yeah.
Now she has a pardon? No. Like, he wouldn't deal with that shit. If that came across his desk and he saw that just like in an update on the HoloNet, he'd be livid.
Well, and that's another thing that I think would be really fascinating. I've talked a lot about how much I think it would be beautiful that if, that my like working theory for how this story ends is that the Bad Batch will play a pivotal role in setting Project Necromancer back decades.
Yeah.
And that by the time the credits roll, Mount Tantus will be rubble.
God, I hope so.
And with that rubble is years of research, years of information, years of knowledge. That is why when we meet the Emperor in The Rise of Skywalker, he's a fucking corpse on a meat hook and not
Literally.
Matt Smith.
Yeah. Oh, Matt Smith. He's okay. One, he's hot. Two, he's gotten brought up twice in this episode now because we talked about Damon earlier. We got Matt Smith
you're
on
right.
the mind.
No, Brooke is not here, but she's here.
Yeah.
Brooke is not here, but she's here. But yeah, you know, I love that idea, and I think taking that a step further, that if Ventress is present for whatever the Battle of Mount Tantus looks like, and just saying it, just delicious. If she's present for that, I love that little fuck you that comes with her being there.
Yeah.
That it's like, oh, me? Yeah, I died. And now I'm back. Because there's ways to do that.
I mean, she literally says she's got some lives he left, so.
Yeah. So I'm also in love with the idea that her very being there is also a taunt to Sidious.
Yeah.
That it's like, yeah, death does not have to be the end. This shit is not how you live again, you abomination.
Exactly.
And that, again, you know, Darth Sidious, one of the things that, you know, is it a plot hole? Is it retroactive continuity? I don't know. I don't care. I care more about theme than, you know, plotting a 50-year-old franchise from 77 to now.
Yeah.
What I love I do love the idea that the Emperor, he's so cunning, he's so intelligent, he's an incredible tactical mind, but because of his arrogance, he's never learned a single lesson.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, he keeps, you know, well, the Naboo crisis works-ish, but he doesn't realize, maybe sock puppet armies have the potential to go belly up. He doesn't learn that lesson. And it will likely end in, oh, what happens the next time he uses a sock puppet army? There's an insurrection, and maybe they die, but they set back your cloning operation decades.
Well, and he was stupid too to take out like the one person or the people that could have helped him attain life after death, bringing it back to Ventress's resurrection or whatever happened. Like, he wanted to take out the Night Sisters and Mother Talzin because he was like, she's a legitimate threat to me. But it's like, had you have just not been so selfish and actually learned and tried to work with other people, tried to change and be a better person, granted, we know it's not how the dark side works, but like, it's just stupid shit like that. And it's because he goes about it in such a selfish way that it's never going to work.
Yeah, so convinced of his own brilliance. It's why there's a second and arguably third Death Star. You know, it's why he thinks, oh, I can turn this edgy Skywalker boy to the dark side. And when the rubber meets the road and they have to pick me or the people they care about, at the end of the day, I'm a fucking dead man if I have to make that gambit. He makes the same mistakes over and over and over again. But because of his power, because of his cunning, he gets away with it up until the point that he fucking can't anymore.
Yeah.
You know, and I love that idea that, again, that like this is the beginning of, you thought you could use another sock puppet army, and you thought that all of the people that you are directly responsible for the torment and abuse of, that they would not lash back out at you and come back to fuck you up.
Yeah, exactly.
Now we're here. And you did this to yourself. And I really hope that, again, there's all of these things that kind of coalesce in the end. One other thing as we kind of wrap this up and bring it home. I rarely am like, about fictional characters.
Okay.
Especially ones in animation.
Not the tongue.
There's one shot of Asajj in this episode.
I knew this is where this was going. Okay.
That I was like, damn.
I mean,
Damn.
did you not see her in the beginning of the Clone Wars? This bitch was like throwing off her skirt and was wearing like body wrappings, and she
Listen,
has the smallest waist.
I'm not saying that Asajj isn't sexy or that I've never been able to appreciate that she is a sexy character. I am simply saying that I am able to go objectively attractive and not necessarily go full ooh la la. That shot of her where her hair is like back from the water, like right before she like taps into the Kraken. And Star Wars has been sharing it all over social media, like that one shot with her hair. I'm like, okay, I get it.
That's so funny.
I get it.
My best friend said the same thing. She was like, "Ooh, she looks so good with her hair like that." Meanwhile, I'm over here hating it. Oh my god. It was giving me like and my mom won't listen to this, so I'm going to talk shit about her for a minute. It reminds me when my mom was getting the mom Karen haircut, and she would pin her bangs back like when
Yeah.
she would work out. And I'm
Yeah,
like,
you
ew.
tease your hair to the point where it looks like you're going Super Saiyan.
And I'm just like, "Ooh, Ventress, not the hair back." That was the only part of the thing I didn't like. I liked her hair a lot, and it's a little bit different than it was going to be in Clone Wars for Dark Disciple. It came to more of a point instead of more of a swoop like it is now, so it looks really good. But
I
pushed
like the
back,
idea that it grew and changed though. That it's like that it looks like a natural progression of like the crazy like like you cut
true.
somebody's throat with it. That it almost looks like it has grown in its natural direction from there. I was thinking the same thing.
And another thing that's funny mentioning her hair too. I posted something about Ventress being in the Bad Batch, like when the trailer first came out, and a couple people commented and were like, "Why does she have hair?" And I just thought to myself, I don't know, maybe because the dark side makes you bald. And then I looked in the mirror and I was like, well, what the fuck's my excuse then? I guess I'm on the dark side.
Henceforth, you shall be known as Darth Scotty Holiday.
I guess. I'm sorry, not to ruin your sexy Ventress. Doesn't it's like Mean Girls? Doesn't she look sexy with her hair pushed back? Like Jared, tell her she looks sexy with her hair pushed back. Except I guess it's you should be telling me to tell her, and I'm like,
Yeah,
look
you
sexy with your
should be
hair
telling
pushed back,
me.
Ventress.
But yeah, no, these are some really good couple episodes. I think my only gripe at the end of the day with these, that like, you know, I trust the story to be told. You know, for me personally,
Mm-hmm.
I was really hoping that the episode would come with more resolution to the M count stuff. And that there would be more of like that like Ventress would have a greater insight than yeah, she's definitely force sensitive and she's probably better off not knowing that for certain.
Well,
You know, I was hoping for more of them to be like, yeah, like the Empire is hunting for sensitives. Like I was like really wishing that moment where like you lied to her, like there's something going on, for her to be like, yeah, I'm gonna tell you what's going on. Force sensitives are going fucking missing across the galaxy. This shit's bad. I don't know what they're doing, but they're experimenting with people who can touch the Force, and it's freaking me the fuck out. And she doesn't need to know that she is in grave danger. And y'all got to figure something out about that.
I think that was partially her protecting Omega by not letting like Omega's dads know, because if they're going to stress out about it, then she's going to stress out about it. But I agree, because I thought there was going to be a little bit more to it as well. And I think it's also in Ventress's nature, because she's been that little girl who's torn away from everything that, like we talked about earlier, had kind of the Force ruin her life for a time, just being somebody connected to the Force with a high M count. So I feel like there's a bit of her trying to protect Omega in that sense as well. But yeah, I kind of agree. I expected a little bit more to it.
Yeah, I just, you know, I like, I'm not like, you know, they subverted her expectations. Sure. Like I didn't mind that, oh, Ventress wasn't sent after them in any capacity. She was there on their behalf. That was not like a surprise I was disappointed by. And maybe disappointed isn't even the right word, but I was just like, oh, like she's just here to give them a litmus test for whether or not Omega can use the Force. Okay.
The little 3 Jedi test, three weapon test.
You know, that I was like, I'm gonna talk about this, like what the greater. Okay. And I want concrete answers on Palpatine's conspiracy to live forever. Surprisingly to nobody, I want the documents.
Surprisingly to nobody. Yeah, that tracks.
But with that, I think we've reached the end of this discussion of this episode. Scotty, where can the lovely people find you and what you do, babe?
Well, babe, the most stuff I do would be on YouTube, I would say. You can find me at Scotty Holiday Star Wars, at Scotty Holiday SW on social media, and my podcast at Wayseekers Pod. And it's all Star Wars all the time. It's very Ventress right now. So if you're into that, you're going to like the content I've been putting out.
Absolutely. Go check Scotty out there. They're incredible. They make good stuff. I will say, I have this small boned pick with a video you put out. It was quite some time ago, and I was waiting to have a conversation with you about it. I think you're clever. I think you're kind. I think you're lovely. I think you're very attractive. I think you're out of your mind for the green lightsaber erasure thing.
Okay.
I think that is one of the I sat there when I got the notification for that upload, and I was like, what in the fuck are they talking about?
I was a Qui-Gon kid. What can I say?
Hey, you know what? Fair. I have I've never been a green lightsaber guy. It's never been my favorite. But
clearly,
but by the same token, we've gotten a lot of green.
No. And the acolytes come and they said only one person's having a fucking blue lightsaber. The rest are going to be green and yellow. So I'm ready for it. Bring the green,
you've
baby.
Been vindicated. You've been vindicated. You've been vindicated in your But anyway. So go follow Scotty and their projects. You guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at DarkJedi2552. And you can find the Nerd Academy podcast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, wherever you get podcasts, and on our website, thenerdacademypodcast.com, where if you would like to get your hands on some TNAP merch, go ahead and click that student store link.
tpublic.com.
We're getting into every guest's least favorite part of the show. Okay. And if you're feeling generous, you can donate to our Patreon.
Give me $1.
Oh, that was scary.
It's all the fucking clips. Real quick, we're behind on the Versus series because scheduling sucks and it happens every fucking year. It's gonna get better, I promise. Mace Windu versus Darth Malgus coming down the pipeline. Kelleran Beck versus the Grand Inquisitor coming down the pipeline. A third matchup, I don't know what it will be yet, is coming down the pipeline to make sure we are all caught up for 2024. But speaking of our patrons, thank you to our $10 alumnus. I slapped my microphone, Keandre Lloyd.
Colin Provolone. Sir.
So good.
Steal yourself, Colin! Steal yourself!
This is me stealing myself!
And to Paco, or as he's going by on our Patreon right now, Chat GPT.
All right, ladies and gentlemen.
From the front lines of the information war, it's Alex Jones.
speaking of that, I'm sure it'll come up on TNAP at some point very soon, like on the main show. I just want to say, if you have the stomach for it, I implore you all to watch The Truth versus Alex Jones on HBO Max. Incredible documentary. I will say is one of the best edited documentaries I've ever seen in my life. Because for those of you who are aware, for those of you who know about my unhealthy podcast habits, I am a very big fan. It's my favorite podcast called Knowledge Fight, which is like an episode by episode dismantling, debunking, and live skinning of every single piece of horse shit Alex Jones has ever said. And one of the best things about Knowledge Fight is that the impetus of it is Jones constantly claims that he's being taken out of context and people talk about the horrible fucking shit he says. So the conceit of the show is, okay, let's put him in context. So it's kind of like all right, we're going to play this clip of Alex speaking. Okay, now let's talk about why it's fucking horse shit. And it is the best way to tear him apart. And the documentary does a fantastic job of letting him say, I did not say this thing, and then immediately playing a clip of him saying that thing. It is funny on that level. It is very heavy. It does it as it should, centers the Sandy Hook families very poignantly, very powerfully. If you have the stomach for it, I cannot recommend it enough. Just because, I take great pains for people to know that any of the Alex Jones related bits on this podcast are like kind of derivative from Knowledge Fight. And like the drip of, oh, that was funny, I'll use that. And I know a good bit of our listenership has also become Knowledge Fight fans, namely Paco, our $10 patron. So for anybody who is tangentially in that community or again has the stomach to watch it, I highly recommend Alex or The Truth versus Alex Jones on HBO Max. And we also want to shout out our last $10 patron, Ray Clausen, who asked that you donate to Equality Texas to help keep queer kids safe in the Lone Star State. In terms of upcoming programming here on the Nerd Academy podcast, next week, fingers crossed, in the same way that we did a how to prepare for the Royal Rumble, I am going to be joined by a new guest, again, assuming things work out the way I'm hoping they do, who is a friend of mine. It was funny. He is on the list of people who I instantly followed on TikTok because I saw they were wearing Roosevelts.
You do love some Roosevelts.
Anthony Botta, I know I pilled you. You ran in that shit so hard, and it made me so happy.
They're good shirts for work.
They're great shirts for work. Listen, the reason why you getting Roosevelt's pilled was one of the best feathers in my cap was that on some level there is a painful straightness to the ostentatious nature of a lot of their shirts. And I was like, but can I get a queer, stylish person to get into this? Can I do that? Can I unlock this feat? And then it worked. And I was like, I can sell this shit to anybody. Roosevelt's, sponsor us. Please. Yeah. Please. The debt collectors are calling. I'd like a sponsorship, please. But I'm kidding. Am I? Who knows? But anyway, hopefully, assuming things pan out, Anthony will be on to talk about how everything you need to know for WrestleMania, what to expect during the show. And then the week following, I will be joined again by Anthony and friend of the show, Michael McCoy, to then discuss the events of WrestleMania. And I'm also trying to get out a news roundup episode of TNAP next week as well with Travis. There's been a lot of news and we haven't been able to record in a minute. So I'm hoping to round that news up for you guys and talk about all kinds of stuff. Marvel Rivals, Marvel 1942, Rise of Hydra, all kinds of really fun stuff that I am very excited to talk about and hope we're able to make time to do so, as well as I'm going to get caught up on X-Men 97 and talk about that because I've not had a chance to watch it yet. And everything I'm seeing is exactly what I'd hoped it would be. So yeah, stay tuned for all of that. Like I said, Versus Series $5 tier gets you access to that. Other things. Ionized Bastards. We are halfway through season 2, the Star Wars RPG show, GM'd by friend of the show, Michael McCoy, that stars myself as Fabian Martel, an ex-Inquisitor, turned fighting, prize fighter turned scoundrel bounty hunter type. Alden Diaz of Octo Radio playing Thalbor Sheems, the man who answers the question, what if Saul Goodman were an Ithorian? 4044, played by Jerry the Cannon Junkie from the Bombad cast, a huggable assassin droid with a heart of gold with the core processor of a caretaker droid put into the body of an HK assassin droid. And Zuzo Yort, played by Dan Miller of Broaxium, a vagrant kleptomaniac pathological liar, cyborg Gungan. It is very fun. We're recording a new episode this coming Tuesday that will likely be out the following Friday. So stay tuned for that. Be sure to go back and watch the back catalog if you're interested in catching up on Ionized Bastards. I implore you to do so. It is the project I hold most near and dear to my heart. And finally, I want to save this one for last. Because, listen, despite the amount of palpable tension between Scotty and I here. This Scotty. The other one too, but this one. Both of my Scotties. You got caught talking some shit.
About who?
About me.
To who?
In your match against Jerry.
Oh, it was out of love. I'm doing that thing where like I act like I don't like you, but it's because I have a crush on you. You know that it's like the little middle school thing, right? I'm being mean to you.
They say this like I'm not in their DMs with relative frequency. So there's a little match coming up in Epic Confrontations. One that I could not be more excited for. You see, last year, when I was still being controlled by Cookie Cop, I made a wager with the infinitely less attractive Scotty that should he beat me, I would be banned from the teams division for a year before I ever actually got to play in the teams division. Well, ladies and germs, that ban ends on April 10th. And I am ready to step back in the ring with one Alden Diaz. But neither of us will be alone. You see, it's going to be me, my lovely co-host Kaysen, who was not able to be with us tonight, but it's going to be me and Kaysen making our team's debut as the Jedi Lords, going head-to-head with Big Chungus themselves. And I just want to make sure that the record is clear here. I'm not going to stop until they don't have a fucking pulse.
Spicy.
It is personal. Alden has been allowed to wreak havoc on this league with impunity, with his ego, with his cult of personality. I thought I was bad while Cookie Cop was controlling me. I was like, it cannot get worse than this. And then inexplicably, the moment I woke up from that diluted haze, this motherfucker, he doesn't have the excuse of an eldritch being controlling his mind. He doesn't have that excuse. He's just a prick.
Oh.
He's just a prick who his antics caused us to lose one of our own in the Wayseeker Alliance. Claire hung it up because of his and Michael's antics. This isn't just about justice for the league and maintaining the good name of Epic Confrontations. I thought I was above this, but I'm going to make one thing abundantly clear. This shit's about fucking revenge. Count your fucking days, Alden. Count your fucking days, Michael. You and your little lapdog are getting kicked in the fucking dick.
Oop. He said it.
Hot Wayseeker summer, baby. It's just starting now. I like to cut a promo when I can.
Go ahead, go off.
But anyway, Jedi Lords versus Big Chungus coming soon to Epic Confrontations. And be sure to catch the back half of Ionized Bastards as well. With that, huge thank you to Brooke. Again, follow her on Bedazzler. Big thank you to Scotty for joining us. Again, the more attractive one. Be sure to follow them on all of their socials and check out their YouTube channel and their podcast. But with that, thank you so very much for joining us. And may the Force be with you. Always.
Stop! Move away from the cookie jar!